everybody.
Hello, everyone.
Hello.
My name is Revelle Rivers.
And I'm Talita Dotson.
We
and
are
we're
sis
showing
showing
important
important
support.
support.
Just a reminder, please make sure you share our live. Make sure you like our live. And also remember that we are on YouTube under showing important support. So if you could subscribe and share. It doesn't cost you anything. And the disclaimer is, we're just sisters, suffer from anxiety, just sharing our stories, sharing our coping techniques, and also our speakers are under this disclaimer as well. Any videos that we show, we do not own the rights to some of the videos that we may show.
Okay, so dedication. We dedicate this to you, Mom, as always. Today is February 28th, 2023. And this is a picture of her at one of our church functions where we're playing a game here, and she's having a lot of fun.
Okay, so mental health check. We normally do the mental health check, but just to buy time, we hope that everybody mental is on point. If you're having any issues or anything, put it in the comments, and one of our moderators will reach out to you. And also just some housekeeping notes, because we know that the subject can be a little touchy. So just respect everybody basically, and respect the gender differences, respect the racial differences, and just everybody have their own opinion, but we all can remain respectful. So, and then please comment throughout the live, because we are going to have a panel that comes on, and then you are welcome to share your opinion and everything.
Okay, so we're going to introduce the panel of the baby boomers.
And I'll introduce the baby boomer. Okay. I'll introduce Revelle Rivers as a baby boomer. And the baby boomer is from 1946 to 1964. And I'm going to introduce Charles Lewis as well as a baby boomer.
Okay, and Generation X, 1965 to 1980, is my sister Talitha Dodson.
And that will be me.
The millennials, we have 1981 to 1996. We have Quita.
Bring her in 1 second. Okay, and that's Quita. Radiance, I know, so don't worry about it. Okay.
And we have Tasha. And we have Lavelle.
Okay. So that's all we have now. Okay. And then maybe our Generation Z will show up later.
Which is Radiance.
Okay, which is Radiance. Okay. All right. So I just want to show a recap, because this is our part 2 of our show. So I'm just going to do a little recap from before. So hang on 1 second. Let me do a recap from before. And it's, did that video come up again? Okay.
Way, I had the pleasure of talking with and having a discussion with a 95-year-old mother of the church at Emmanuel Baptist Church, and it was an hour and 22 minutes of conversation. But I will just give you a snippet of how her thoughts were about mental health. Okay, so you guys listen up, because it's amusing in a way. Okay, so here we go. I don't know where it came from, but now they have it's a whole gobs of people, gobs and gobs of people that are mentally ill. for my generation, the 60s defined the era of social justice or injustice. And we as baby boomers were leading the charge to change the way that the generation before us were prone to believe in what was told to them. We had the social changes, we had the Vietnam War, we had Muhammad Ali, we had Malcolm X, and that sort of thing.
What values do you think your generation have versus other generations?
Okay, so the values my generation have versus other generations are: we value relationships, spending time with family. Another value is we learn to be obedient and respect others and elders. We had a lot of confidence in ourselves. We were raised with the idea of the American dream. We pushed ourselves to reach our goal. Okay, so I'm going to have my sister, Talitha Dawson, answer the first question.
Okay, so values that my generation had, I think a stronger backbone. So bullying was around then, but we were taught to like basically fight back. Somebody hits you, you better hit them back, you know. And then for survival, we improvise. So for example, if we didn't have the sponge rollers, we basically was taught to take a paper bag and tear it off and roll it up, you know, and twist it and then take our hair and roll it around. And it came out some very good curls.
So some of our generation values were family. I kind of feel like our generation was kind of one of the last generations to pretty much value family. A lot of the new generation nowadays, they don't even know who their family is. As for cousins and different things like that, we value that by getting together a lot. And so I want to say family, faith, freedom, friendship, honesty, loyalty. In our generation, we was going down with our friends regardless of what was going down. We going down all together. Some of the new generation lacks these things, making it hard to grow in an evolving world today.
Good. Okay.
Number 2 is a Black history question. In the Black community, seeking counseling and help with mental health was not an option or not offered. What are some barriers or some reasons you think for this? So we're gonna
do as I say. Okay, that's it. So I never heard you could say I love you and you got back me too. You know, what was me too? Okay, I'm showing you my love, I'm showing you my emotions, and you come back with a me too. Okay, so to this day, I tell my children I love them. Okay, and other, I tell Talitha, I talk to, hey, you know, I love you, you know, that sort of thing. So you have to get over what happened in the past, because once again, it was always, if you don't stop crying, I'll give you something to cry about. Okay, and that.
So I said that I think that a child being taught not to throw a tantrum as a part of expressing themselves makes sense. So saying that it's not okay for your kid to stump away from you or be disrespectful, absolutely. Like, no, that's not okay. However, I think that it is important to create a space where they're comfortable to express themselves and say, you know what, if you feel so. I'm going through this with my 6-year-old right now. Like, this is our biggest issue right now. Anybody who knows my baby knows he's a sweet kid, but when he gets mad, things switch up. So I am trying to teach him, like, it's okay to say that you feel some type of way. It's okay to say that you're sad. It's okay to express yourself. But you cannot throw a tantrum. You cannot overreact. As adults, we have to learn how to reel it in. So a lot of times there may be some.
Gotta say our first and last name every time. But honestly, I think they got it. But I was waiting. So I think the impacts are lack of self-confidence, poor communication skills, inability to manage their emotions, and their parents to be able to, if they were to act out in a certain way, you can be the parent to say, hey, let's talk about this. What's going on with you? Why are you acting this way? Why are you sad? Why are you mad? What is going on with you right now? And help them self-regulate. We didn't have that. So we see all kinds of stuff going on these days. So I don't think that expression necessarily means negative. It's just how you manage it, how you teach your kids how to manage theirs. Because they're just not born with that quality. That's what parents are for. So, but that's all.
Okay, ready?
Full government name. Okay. I think when it comes to children, I think about the way my mom raised me. If anyone knew me when I was younger, I mean, I'm still the same way. I have a very bold personality, and I just always felt like regardless if you were an adult or a child, I always felt like if I'm respecting you, then you should also give me that respect back. And I think of the scripture in Ephesians that says, "Fathers, do not provoke your children to anger, but bring them up in discipline and instruction." And it tells us right there, like we can't on one hand discipline a child and have them feel all these emotions, but then on the other hand, don't instruct them on ways to manage those emotions.
Okay. 1 second. Go back to there. Okay. All right. They didn't see it. Okay. Let me stop sharing my video. 1 second. And I'll stop sharing my video. All right. 1 second. Just trying to stop sharing my video. All right. Is our panel there? Can our panel see us? You guys can come on. Let me stop sharing. How do I stop sharing? Thought I had it down back. Okay. 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 Can everybody see? Here? Okay. So I just wanted to kind of recap the video. I just last week Chuck, you had mentioned about you always wanted to so wait a minute, let me we're gonna go over the questions so the people know the questions that we asked.
Okay, so just basically recapping on the 4 questions that we talked about last week. The first question was, what values do you think your generation have versus other generation? The second one was Black History question. In the Black community seeking counseling and help with mental health, what was not an option or not offered? What are some barriers or reasons you think for this? 3, what impact does generation or generational differences have, especially in the workforce? And 4 was, do you think there was an impact on the child because of not being allowed to express their emotions? And if so, what may have been the impact?
Okay, and then our bonus question that we never got to was the bonus question was majority of us were taught to pray and pray about everything we go through. What opinions or how do you feel about suggesting prayer only with someone who is dealing with mental health? So one of my things I want to reach out to was Chuck. You had mentioned about that you always wanted your kid to have more than what you had. Like, what do you mean by that? Like more than far as what that you have? Like, what do you mean by that?
Well, it was selfish of me to want to give them what they wanted more so than what they earned. Um, as I had stated before, one daughter wanted to go to Regina, and she wanted to piano lessons and tap dance lessons and all that sort of thing. So the proof is she can't play the piano and she don't tap dance. So that was just her wanting and me wanting to please her. So that's what prompted me to work 2 jobs as well as Darlene working to provide for them.
Okay. Okay. And then I wanted to like reach out to Quita. So I saw on the video where you were saying that are you everybody able to see us like far as our panel? Are you guys able to see us? Tasha, can you see me? Can you see it? Tasha? Okay. Everybody can see. Okay. So one of the things, Quita, you mentioned like the last part of your video, I kind of cringed a little when you had said about your 6-year-old. You were saying that how when he gets mad, he gets really, really, really mad. And and I kind of go back to just thinking in my life, like over my lifetime when we were coming up. um I don't think I really ever seen like a 6-year-old and below they like act out or be angry. Like what is it that they could be really, really mad at 6 years old? Like, I mean, if anybody's gonna be really, really mad, it's gonna be the parent. You're gonna know that I'm really, really mad and not the child. But I could, when you said that, you said it with, you put emphasis on it, and I'm wondering at 6 years old, like what do you think some reasons of why he's angry? Could be angry.
So maybe anger is a strong word. It may be more like disappointed. Like if he gets disappointed or if he feels like he's not getting his way, then he want to know why, what's going on, and y'all gonna have to explain this to me. Like he just don't really take it well. Just saying, something negative. So even these particular behaviors, he doesn't always display it with like me or my mom or somebody that can actually discipline him. A lot of times it's at school, so it may be just him mocking the other kids or the way that they express themselves, so he feel like, okay, well, maybe I'll get my way if I do what they doing, or so I don't think that he's really mad per se. He's just trying to get a reaction. So what can I do to get a reaction out of somebody?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, because that was little when you had mentioned it. I'm like, wait a minute, he's 6 years old. I'm like, I'm like, what do you
It's
mean?
just he flip you when it's like night and day. It's like he
Mm-hmm.
could be like, "Oh, you're so beautiful," and then it's like, "Ah, I want this" or whatever. Like he just kind of be the opposite of that. So
Mm-hmm.
it may come through as anger, but a lot of times it's just him trying to get a reaction out of somebody because he didn't get his way. So now I want a reaction out of you too.
Okay. Okay.
I have a question for Tasha. You had mentioned in the last video about how you were saying about somebody had retired, and of course after they retired, you said that they had kind of passed away. So you had a different look on retirement. You basically were saying that
I
how.
think your phone is static and Quita.
So you were saying that you basically have a different look on people that is living for the future versus living for now. So I just want to say that so what happens like when you don't live for tomorrow, and then when tomorrow comes, basically the future.
Oh, sorry, I had to take myself off mute. So I think that so one of the I don't know if it was that question or another question I answered. I talked a lot about balance. So I think that one thing our generation is pretty good at is learning how to balance those things. So we can do both simultaneously. Like it doesn't have to be like, oh, we just have to live for now or we just have to live for the future. Like we can still have the future in mind and make preparations to make sure that we set ourselves up for success for the future or even our families. But at the same time, we also want to enjoy the now. So whatever that looks like, if I'm working at a 9 to 5 and I'm putting my money away in my retirement and I work my hours I'm supposed to work, but I don't really give too much more than that because I got other stuff to do. Like I want to enjoy my life in other ways. I want to go on vacation. I want to do these things. So I may not go as hard at it as like maybe in past generations might. Like that work, but in our generation now, work is not our life. So I think that's just the difference, and we've kind of learned balance. Like I can do that, I can prepare myself for the future, but at the same time, I'm going to enjoy the now because tomorrow is not promised. So, and I'm going to live my life while I have it. So that was more of, where I was going with that.
What would you say? Go ahead, Chuck. Go ahead.
Can I follow up?
Yeah.
The good thing, the key word that you said is now, because you might not make it to later, but it's always good to have some backing, knowing that when I get 35 or 40, uh, I'm set, I'm ready to go. Okay. Because as we all know, when the rent's due, car notes due, child care is due, okay, they want their money. Okay. They don't want to hear, well, I quit that job because, okay, I needed my time. All right. So as I had said before, I quit probably 10 jobs before I got to be 30. Okay. And as I said before, the last time I quit a job was I was working for Cox Cable. And I told you guys that Michael Jackson Thriller video had came out and everybody on the West Side wanted Thriller. And I said, you know what, take this job because this is it for me. So it wasn't that we didn't quit jobs, we did. It's just that once we hit a certain age, and as I said before, I couldn't go home and tell my wife, hey, I quit my job because first thing she said, where you staying?
Right.
Okay.
Right.
So I had a job lined up. I had Illuminating Company right there waiting for me, okay, because of my skills.
And the thing of it is with the younger generation, because you do kind of see them quitting jobs and that, but it's like, what are you doing towards like your retirement? Like what is your game plan? And then especially for like single parents or single families, like how are you handling work balance and still able to maintain and pay your bills, Natasha?
I'm sorry. Your question was
so like
how
even
are
like for a single parent, like what advice would you give a single parent to maintain that balance, as you say?
Well, I mean, if you're a single parent, and I mean, obviously, just like any of us, like, we have to still make a living from day to day, even for us to be able to quote unquote, like enjoy the now. Like if I speak of something like vacations, like I know I need money to go on these vacations. So I'm not going to just not be employed somewhere and just figuring it out. Like I'm going to be employed, but it's just a matter of how I manage my time. So I think it's the same thing with you being a single parent, like as far as like, okay, you have your kid, you have your job, but there's still, you don't have to place as much emphasis on I'm going to just throw myself completely into work unless you have to. I mean, everybody's circumstance is different, but I think that if you're in a position to be able to set yourself up for the future and still enjoy the now, then you should do that. And that may take like, okay, there's a job or whatever that even things where we're talking about lessening your stress. So like maybe I'm not going to be at a job where I have increased stress levels, and then I come home and I don't have time for my kids or whatever, because I'm just like at that point I'm frustrated and just dip. So people make changes like that on a daily basis where, hey, I'm gonna move into a different position because I'm stressed or I can't enjoy my life. I can't go on. I don't have time to do this. I don't have time to do that. So I think the biggest thing, I guess the operative word in all of this is time. Like people want more time. And we already know that that's the one thing in this life that you can never get back. If you can make more money, but you can't make more time. Like once yesterday has passed, once 15 minutes ago has passed, that's gone. So, what are you doing now to enjoy the moment? Because neither of us, nobody knows the day, the time, the hour, nothing. So I think so even in a life of a single parent, it's just like what is manageable for you? Where can you squeeze out points of your day that you can enjoy your life while you're still here? So that's what I would say.
But you know what? Also, there's a difference between wanting a job and having a career because you look at things different. When you have a career, you know where you're headed. When you have a job, you're just there for the money. Okay. I had a career at First Energy for 35 years, but I had 12 different positions because the company was so large and they paid for college. So I wasn't giving up all that gravy. Okay. Just to quit. All right. No different than working when Darlene was working at the hospital. All right. They paid for her degrees. Okay. So once again, looking for a job is one thing, but always I feel you should be looking for a career.
Yes.
Right.
And a career that you enjoy. I mean, I think that's the
Yes.
part. I think that's the hardest part. People get into careers every day, but there's so many people that even though they're on this path and they're in this career, they don't necessarily like what it is they do. It's just a means to an end. And I think that
employers look at resume. So when you send your resume in, and then on your resume you got all these different jobs that you've been in and out of, that doesn't look good to the business world. So what would you say to somebody just like that?
Well, I personally think that's more Gen Z than millennials. Because me personally, I hold on to a job. So I ain't never had no problem in that area. It's just about, so much like Chuck mentioned, like I could be at the same company and have several positions. But as I move in different positions, I'm also aligning it with my life and what my goals are at that time and what I plan on doing. So like, case in point, there was a point where, my whole thing was just getting to the next ladder in my career, getting to that next point, getting to that next title. And that was important to me. And I started getting to certain titles and it was cool, but it wasn't everything. Like I thought, and when I mentor people, sometimes I tell them, like, don't be so focused on getting to that next salary grade. Like, it's cool, but not when they say not all money is good money. I really agree with that. And people find themselves in these positions and they might be making some good money, but they hate their job. They're always stressed. They never have time for nothing. And it's really affecting their quality of life, leading to things like anxiety, depression. I mean, all of that stuff. So I think that, it's just a matter of like, so when I was talking about balance, you can definitely learn how to manage both. Like if I'm in a position, I'm going to be smart about it. I'm not going to quit my job and then I have no idea, what's coming next, especially if I'm on my own and I got bills. I mean, the bills keep coming every month, whether I like it or not. So I'm going to be smart about it. But at the same time, it's just ways you can be strategic about your movement and say, okay, well, this position is not fitting me. Maybe if I go into something else that's not as demanding, then I'll have a better likelihood of enjoying my time. So,
Lavelle, what you about to say? Okay, go ahead. Question for Lavelle.
I have a question for Lavelle. He owns his own business. So I actually was at a restaurant last Friday, me and my husband. And so at the restaurant, we waited about an hour for our food. Then the food finally came out and it came out wrong. So they had to take back some of our portion of our food while we still had some food that, that was out, whatever. So we waited another hour almost for that food to come out. So I asked the waitress, I said, can I see the manager? And the manager came over. And so I told him what was going on. And I said, this is unacceptable. And he looked at me, he was a young manager. And he looked at me and he said, so what you want me to do? I was confused. What do you mean what I want you to do? So, as owning your own business, well, I know back in my day, the customer was always right. Now these days with the young managers and stuff like that, it's like they don't care. And my husband say, well, let me tell you something. He didn't care because of the fact that he was saying himself that you can leave and somebody else will come, like basically we don't need your money, whatever. So I just thought like, really? But anyway, what would you say to somebody like that, Lavelle?
Well, for me, of course, with everything that's going on in the world nowadays, when COVID hit, it changed everything. It changed some things for the better, and it changed some things for the worse. I think customer service is one of those things where it changed for the worse because you have some groups of people that feel like, hey, if I'm upset or, if I'm feeling however I'm feeling that day, I can walk away right now and then walk into another job because guess what? The other job need me just as well as that other job that I just left. So nowadays, people, they don't value the customer. The customer is no longer right. The customer is wrong. Whereas back years ago, the customer was always right in every situation because you wanted to satisfy the customer to get good reviews or to get business. Where nowadays that doesn't matter. I'm gonna walk into wherever I want to go if I want to go there, and I'm not really looking at the reviews because reviews is really not that important as it was maybe 3 to 5 years ago, or a little bit further back than that, because now people know reviews are kind of fabricated with certain things. Me being a business owner, when I owned my moving company, it was kind of fabricated to the point with things that now you have apps and different things that people can put up fake reviews and all types of things like that. So I just feel like in today's age, things has really changed. So that's pretty much what I would say.
Yeah, I know, because I know I go through the McDonald's lines and I would cringe because it was like, I order and I give them my money and then I tell them thank you. They'd be like, "You welcome." I'd be like, "What? Wait a minute. It should be the other way around. You should be thanking me and I should be saying you're welcome." And it's just like, and this actually, to be honest, this happened before COVID. Where is there's some of the millennials, some of the Generation Z's, they're like into this mindset to where I don't know if they consider something like self-centered or untouchable or whatever. Because I can even remember my daughter, my youngest daughter, worked at a McDonald's, and I was in there picking her up one day, and the lady came up to her, and she was at the register. Thank God they put her in the drive-thru because she needed to go to the drive-thru, but. Anyway, she was the register. The lady came up to her and was like, "Hi," to her. And she was like, "Hi." I think I take your order. And I'm like, but she was really nice, but it's like they're just not, it's not about like so we've been left away from that. The customer's always right, Even in my current job that I do, I still put the customer first, and try to, even apologize for things that was out of my control that I had, because it's still you still have to remain customer friendly no matter what. And I don't think just because the change of times that should change the way things should be. I don't think per se. Any other questions you guys want to shoot out? One of the another things that I wanted to talk about, I wanted to get back into the kid thing because I was watching the news today and I heard how the teachers are moving from their career because of the kids, because of the school shootings, because of the parents. That and I'm like, I have a 6-month-old granddaughter, and it's like, is the school going to be around when she gets older and go to school? And it kind of is scary, that these are the things that pull the teachers away from school, not per se, um, okay, not per se to say that it's just COVID, so and it's scary. So my thing of it is, I know Queen had to step off for a second to get she's having technical difficulty with her thing. This was going to be addressed to her, but I could address it at Tasha. I know you don't have any kids now or anything like that, but what do you have to say about something like that? That knowing that the schools could be probably no schools around when your niece or whatever gets older. Like, what do you have to say about that?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's an increase, to be honest, not just in the school shootings, but just period. I mean, people can't even go to the grocery store no more. I mean, me could go, but there's been a shooting at the grocery store, movie theaters, schools, churches. I mean, I don't really think it's limited to schools. I mean, I just think that a lot of things could be said about the shootings and guns and all of that type of stuff, but people are hurting, people have issues. It's just a lot going on. And yeah, I mean, I definitely think it's something I think about, like with little kids, being in places where, with the last, where was that shooting? I don't know if it was in Texas or whatever, with the one with all the little kids or whatever, and the guy came in. But I mean, all you can do, I mean, they're trying to put different things in place now, like putting like metal detectors and just different things in the schools, and making sure they have maybe an armed guard, and people think that's extreme, but it's like, you just never know until it's you. Like, you look at it on TV and you see, oh, that school, and Colorado or whatever, but that could be a school in Ohio. It was a school in Ohio,
Right.
years ago, so it could really be anywhere.
But it's also along that the shootings is when you have the disrespectful kids. Teachers are losing their professions because of the kids, and I think that's scary because it's like for the parents to have no, not to control. I can remember as a mother coming up, that my kids they disrespected and but was that really that I can't ever remember a time when my kids ever really got disrespected. Okay, if anything, maybe the kids were they didn't do their homework or they didn't do this, but like far as kids throwing, like they had the one where the guy brought a gun to the school, and shot the teacher. But you have I can remember my youngest daughter going to school and the child through the desk at the teacher, and he's sitting outside the classrooms. But I can never remember a time where my kids was actually downright disrespectful to teachers to where they don't even want to teach anymore. You know what I mean? And I think that's said that's what when you had mentioned too. That's why when you had said about your 6-year-old Quita about being acting angry and stuff like that. It's like how are these kids getting to this point to where they're disrespecting teacher and it was like when my youngest daughter, it was like every day this little boy actually sat outside the classroom because of the fact that he was like spitting at the teacher, he was throwing chairs at the teacher, and it's like, and this was elementary school. It's like, how do the kids get to that? So Lavelle,
home.
Huh?
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't know you was going to somebody. I'm gonna say, we're talking about in that scope. It's definitely at home. People send their kids to school. You have to start. So the raising needs to be taking place at home. We know that it takes a village, right? It's not just, you some people have had some amazing teachers that have been great mentors to them in their childhood and teenagers and as they became adults. But it really starts at home at the end of the day. So a lot of times when you see like these kids acting out in school or just different, or if they're acting out to that extreme, then it's like, okay, well, we need to go back to the home at the end of the day. It's not to say that necessarily like the parent is trying to do something wrong or whatever, but it's like maybe we need to just pay a little bit more attention to the kid and see, hey, what's going on, talking to them more, like what's actually going on. Or I have a friend that put her son in counseling. Her son was 8 because it was some things going on that had happened in the household, and she was just like, listen, if he stay in his house one more, he got one more day with me, the way he acted. And she ended up putting him in counseling, and she said it's actually been working for him. It was like an outlet, something that he just some things that he was struggling with that he didn't really know how to communicate being so young. And she tried to talk to him, but it was only so far like she could get with him. So she put him in therapy, and ever since then he's been really, improving with his behavior and stuff, like, some things that came out in the therapy that he wasn't able to express. So that's why I say, I think it's more so when you see those kids, like I seen the one girl who beat up the teacher or whatever recently. They had a video of it. Like, I think she broke the teacher's arm, something with the teacher. And this was an older girl. Like, this was like, I want to say she was a teenager though. So, but I still say that I think that, unfortunately, we don't know what these kids deal with when they go to school. It's kids that commit suicide from stuff that's been going on in school that they haven't communicated with their parents. You think that just because they're kids, they don't go through anything. Or you think that, oh, well, what could you possibly have to go through? I'm an adult, I work. But at the end of the day, like, no, like the kids be going through stuff. And if you're not talking to them or finding ways to open them up and creating that safe space, unfortunately, that's sometimes that can be a result of that. So,
what? Here's something right quick. If that child parents are at home and they listening to Lil Jon, who has the most filthiest records out, okay, or we thought we were hearing something when Sugar Hill Gang came out, okay, with the hip hop but Lil Jon, he has Guinness World Record for the most 295 times curse words on one flaming freaking record. Okay. Now, that same 8 year old, if his parents listening to that, what do they want the child to do? Okay. What is the child supposed to do? All right. He
That's
gonna
true.
rebel, and then you let him sit and play these games that's so violent that they want to kill somebody. So, once again, it's about dollars and cents. Okay. Right. Because the government could shut all this down, but they don't want, because it's about money, just like drugs. It's about money. Okay. Right.
And, and then some of our parents, they sit, and then because I want to hit with Lavelle, they sit and I cringe, because like you could come over to my house with your kids. And if your kids is jumping off the table and off the wall, and you ain't you just sit here on your phone, you ain't act like you ain't seeing them do nothing, and you be like, like I said, my kids have never done, and I have four. I have four. My kids has never went to anybody's house jumping off, the table and doing that has never happened. It's like you have to like like kind of, I ain't gonna say control, or maybe control. You have to tame them kids at home, put it like that. That way when you take them out in the street, they know what to do at somebody else's house. And it's like we've gone away from that.
So we grew up as kids that our parents just gave us a look.
Yep.
And then when our kids came
Show
along,
them the look. Show them the look. Show them the
and then
look.
when our kids came along, we showed them the belt.
We got
the belt too. We got the belt too, but we got the look first, and then look didn't do it. Then we got the belt. But our kids, they got the belt. But actually, my oldest son will say that he got the look too, and my middle son got the look. Is that younger one just had to go and get the belt?
But guess what now? When you look at them like this,
they laugh.
No, they don't. They do look at. They look at they laugh. Right.
So,
but then once again, if you had a company at a family picnic and the father passing the blunt to the son, I mean, what's up?
Right, exactly.
Okay, right.
But then we want to bring you in because we know you have a couple kids. Like, what is your opinion as far as with the kids going to school being disrespectful to the teachers and coming home jumping off the wall at Uncle Sonny's house, and like what are your opinions as far as that? Because it seems like to me that it's just from your last the last slide that you're more in like the baby boomer in the Generation X feel parts with discipline and with kids.
So for me, going off a little bit what Tasha was talking about, I feel like it's also peer pressure in there nowadays because of social media and all those type of things. So now you got kids feel like they got to keep up with every other kid. I got my 9-year-old daughter right now that's asking me for a TikTok, and I keep on telling her no every day. Just only because I feel like the more that the kid gets into that type of stuff, then it creates other problems that you're not going to be ready to deal with. So instead of dealing with those things, instead of just being like, okay, I'm gonna give it to you just so I don't have to deal with you, just don't. You shouldn't give it to them because they don't need it, because their brain at this point in the stage in life is not equipped to deal with the things that these things come along with. That's why you see kids committing suicide and all those type of things. For me, I'm still going back the way I deal with my kids. I'm still going back to the way that my mother dealt with me. I mean, either I'm gonna give you a look or I'm gonna give you a belt, either one. And so for me, I just feel like nowadays you got kids that they're using everything against the parent, where we didn't have that chance to use it against our parent, because if we said, well, I'm about to go jump off a bridge, your mother might have told you go and jump. I'm gonna be right there to watch you. So you was like, oh, well, I ain't about to do that, whereas nowadays everybody is kind of like, oh no, don't, everybody's kind of scared more of the kid. That's kind of what it seems to me. Like the kids have more control than a parent. That's pretty much what it seemed like to me.
This is so true. You're absolutely right. It seemed like the parents are scared of their kids. And then also you have the law that put out there, oh, well, call 911 if they hit you, or say something, or huh?
616 kids.
Is it 616 kids, or is it 616 kids 911? What we say? It's 696.
696. What?
She said 616, but it's 696. Okay, we don't even know because I'm like, because I'm like the first time you try that on me, you know what I mean, that I'm dialing 696 kids or 91. Well, I guess I had to try it on me, so I can't. But anyway, but I think too, and so society has put that in their head that your parents is not allowed to like hit you or like discipline you, and things like that. And so now they figure they can do whatever they want to do. Matter of fact, you say that you're gonna spank them, they like this. I got 911. I got 911 on speed dial, And I'm like, okay, well, when you calling them, tell 911 to come get you and take care of you, because you're not gonna be disrespectful in my house. And I just refuse to let a kid be disrespectful in my house.
So, Lily, to kind of piggyback off of what you were saying, I think that one thing that our kids are lacking is accountability. So, like, when I got in trouble, my mother called everybody. She called my grandmother. She called my daddy. She called my daddy's mama. She called, and everybody I had to take a piece of everybody.
That's true.
Whereas now people like, oh, well, don't say nothing to my kids, and you can't say nothing to my kids, and they don't really utilize the village. Not necessarily saying that everything that your kid does that it has to be exposed, or that it's everybody's business. I think that, again, finding balance in that. But also it's important to say, because I know I'll use my sister, I'll use Del Marcus, I'll use whoever I gotta use. Listen, I need you to get in line, because if you're not gonna do it for me, find somebody that you'll do it for. So to just let them do what they want to do and then tell everybody that they can't say anything to them, and now you got this kid that's totally out of control and you don't know what to do with it. Well, then that's when you want to lean on your village. Well, no, you should have said that when little Johnny started throwing chairs in kindergarten. That was a time to say, hey, maybe I don't have the answers, maybe I can't see everything that's happening, or even to take heed to a different perspective, but to not hold your kid accountable at all is recreating monsters.
Okay, so one other thing I want to question I want to ask is like growing up like sort of go back to kids should be seen and not heard. Going back to that era, and the childhood traumas and things like that. It's sort of like so that's the era that we was raised in. Basically, we wasn't allowed to. I mean, I guess like speak our opinion and speak our mind and things like that. And we didn't have like 4-year-olds and 5-year-olds and all that acting out. You know what I mean? Because we wasn't allowed to to like speak our opinion and speak our minds. So I'm like, like was there? I'm getting background noise. Can people mute their stuff? Because I don't know if it's yeah. So I'm not for sure. It seemed like the with the way that we were raised, like far as I guess it would look at as talking back, going word from word. That it's like we turned out okay. I think, I mean, we didn't have all of the 3-year-olds and the 4-year-olds coming like throwing things. We didn't have like the temper tantrums that you have today. So, and I know people of the new generation sort of is like, let them, let them have their way, let them speak their mind, let them doing that. So, do you think that maybe because we're letting them do all of this, that this is the problem that where we're at today? It's because we're letting them have free will, we letting them stimulate their mind or whatever, you know what I mean? Is that why we having problem that we having today? Any of you guys can take that.
I agree that we are the problem because you guys know, baby boomers, Talitha, yourself, that we would cry if they told us we had to wear holes in our clothes. All right. Now it's acceptable. Okay. Something as simple as that. We didn't want anyone to use the N word, but it's like everybody just say it now, younger generation, okay? But then the rappers don't want the white people to use it, but they want them to buy their records. Now, which way is it going to go? Okay, is it good for you and not for them? But their money's good for you, but they can't use it. Okay, so it's a stereotype in a sense, but also I just heard last Thursday, what would make a billionaire commit suicide? Because he had the world, okay, but he had mental health issues, and that was Thomas Lee was his name. Committed suicide last Thursday because he did not go and get any mental health issues or services. And this man was a billionaire. Okay, so we need to think about what our children, our grandchildren are using. Um, I had my granddaughter, and she was playing Kendrick Lamar, and he was dropping the N word, and I'm like, what's up with this? Okay, right. And then she come back, well, that's my end. Okay, all right. But did her parents ever tell her, hey, don't use that? Okay, it's not acceptable. People died, so that would not be used. Okay, and regardless of how you spell it, it's still wrong to use it. Okay, right.
Right. All right. Can any other you ask? Go ahead, Tasha.
I think I mentioned this in the last segment about just the whole, I always talk about balance. I think it's very important for people to have balance. I think even when it comes to the kids and disciplining, like your only recourse as a parent shouldn't be to, when my kid does something wrong, I'm just gonna go to a belt. Like I think and I believe in like, but sometimes as parents, you can just be so frustrated. If we're talking about like a single parent and you're working all day, you come home to a kid that's essentially being a kid, but they're doing too much because I'm getting off work, I'm frustrated now. And if they do one thing, sometimes you can be so frustrated and you flip and you don't realize that it's really your anger that's leading to what you're getting ready to do, to the kid more so. It's not that the kid didn't do something that, okay, he might have done something wrong, not nothing too crazy, but whatever, he did something wrong. But sometimes it's our own anger that will lead us into doing certain things. And I think we have to acknowledge that. So when Peter talked about accountability, I think that's on both ends. Not just with kids, but parents. Sometimes you have to sit, look in the mirror and be like, I have to take accountability for something. Just because you're a parent doesn't mean you're always right. Doesn't mean just because you're a parent doesn't mean you have all the answers or that everything, even if you have the best intentions, things can still come out not right. So it's just being able to acknowledge that. And I think that even when it comes in the discipline realm, I think the punishment fitting the crime is very important, because then what it could look like is every time somebody or my kid does something wrong, I want to run to a belt. What that starts to look like is, okay, now it seems like my mom is being mean to me for why is that the only recourse? What are you trying to teach me in this? Why aren't you trying to talk to me? Why aren't you trying to explain to me what I'm doing wrong, versus just, oh, you did that, let me go get this belt and get you together as a means of control. So like I said, I think that it has a lot to do with just making sure you balance and making sure the punishment fits the crime, because not everything needs to, a belt needs to be involved. I think sometimes as parents, we need to check ourselves. Sometimes as adults, we need to check ourselves. And I feel like that doesn't happen enough. But,
Right. I want to reach out. I want to reach out to the. Oh, go ahead. I wanted to reach out to the audience. For some reason, we're not seeing the chat on our end. Is any of our Tasha? Are you able to see any of the comments? And can you bring the comments in?
yeah.
Or because we're not seeing the comments on our end. So can you say the comments and you guys can make comments towards that, but we're not able to see it on our end for whatever reason because it's saying no.
Oh, that's just new. If they leave a new comment. Okay, so The ones that are okay. Okay,
I can't hear you. Because it's on internet on our end, which I don't know why.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, let me try to bring it in. I'm not sure why it's not showing on your end.
But just go ahead. If you can't bring it in, you can't bring it in. Just read the comment then. If you can't bring it in, just read the comment.
Hold on. Let's see.
I don't know why it said no internet on my end, or is what it's saying, but that ain't making sense.
So this was in regards to with the discussion about the jobs. Nene said, can you see it, Ma?
Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead. You can see better than I can. Go ahead.
Okay, so I'm thinking leaving any job is big in any setting. Bills are due, but if you can set yourself up for the better. Okay, I got what she was saying. Robert Beasley is saying it's the true definition of YOLO. I think this was in the conversation about, just the balance and making sure you're enjoying your life while you're here and not putting everything off until whenever, because you just don't know. You just don't know. Let's see. Quita had asked, how likely are you guys to quit a job? Alyssa said, I will quit once I no longer can grow there or feel stunted. If I no longer align with the position or don't have a passion for the job, then it's time to go. She also said more money means more responsibilities. Somebody was talking about the restaurant. Robert said, please, what restaurant is this so he doesn't go? I think that was true.
I didn't want to display it.
And Nene said COVID changed the game. And Tynita said folks still appreciate good customer service.
Yes.
That's true.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And Alyssa was replying to Tynita and she said, absolutely. And this was about the kids when we were talking about the school shootings and things going on in school. And Nene said, there's literally nothing you can do but pray over them every morning.
Yes, absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Tynita said, my anxiety is on 1,000 because of these shootings. I don't want to leave the house.
Yeah, I mean, anxiety.
Laquita said, yeah, we were nothing like these kids.
But why is that? That's what I'm saying. Why? What changed that we're no longer like these kids? Like what changed the game? Like what is it? That's what I was saying. Is it because we're letting them be more vocal than before? Like what's the, what I mean? Letting them express their feeling. Like what?
I don't think it's that. I think some younger parents are just not parenting their kids at all. They're too busy. If we keep going down the comments, you hear someone say they too busy. They on TikTok with their kids. They on TikTok more than their kids are. They get home and instead of paying attention or even asking the kids how their day is going, making sure their homework is, making sure, seeing how they are, they on their phone, texting, on TikTok, on Instagram, all of, basically absorbed in their own lives. The kid is probably raising themselves. I mean, I don't.
I was at the store. I think it was Monday maybe, and at a clothing store, and this girl was in the store and just letting her child run wild basically, and she kept looking for him and trying to find him, whatever. Then I heard her touch on the phone. He's embarrassed today. He's embarrassed today. Everybody looking at him like I'm crazy, or whatever. And she said, and but what's crazy is Black folks know our kids is dead. Yeah, I looked at her like, who you talking about? You ain't talking about me.
She said that, yeah. Black folks know our kids is bad.
Well, there is some truth in that because I'm reading this article where it says advocates say juvenile justice center is the most dangerous place in Cleveland. Now, how can it be you housing those that are supposed to be taken care of as far as they've done wrong, and it turns into the most dangerous place in Cleveland? All right, that's terrible. That's terrible. And then when they show the video, it's our kids that's the one that's attacking each other.
Yeah,
What about sense of entitlement? You got any more comments too, Tasha, to read? What about sense of entitlement? Read, go ahead and do the comments. Do you want to engage the audience?
Melissa said their home environment impacts their behavior sometimes. Yeah.
That's true.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Sabrina said it starts at home, but the power has been taken away from the home. The respect is gone.
Sabrina, why do you, if you're still on, why do you think that the power is gone from the home, that there's no respect? Like, why do you say that? Like, what gives you, like, why do you say that? You can move to the next comment until she responds.
So then Nene said, I think it's more of a majority of the kids doing it so others follow along, but you have to start at home.
Oh, yeah.
Melissa said that story was heartbreaking. I think we were talking about I'm not sure which one. We talked about a few stories, but they're all heartbreaking. Nene says schools have the access of counselors, but parents have to put more of a demand on keeping it in schools.
Oh, and the teachers and counselors, they're scared of the parents, because the parents, back in the days, our neighbors were able to call our mothers and say that, or tell us, you better not do that. But nowadays, if you get a mother saying you better not do that, they ready to fight the kid. They ready to fight you over their kid, and you're trying to help them. Like I think Quita mentioned, it takes a village to raise these kids. It really do.
Mara Beasley said the parents are the kids' friends these days. They on TikTok doing more dances than the kids.
Mm-hmm. That's true.
Someone didn't want their comment read, so we're gonna keep going.
Okay.
Tanya said once you give the power to the kids, it's over.
And that's what's happening. Power is going to the kids.
Robert Beasley says adults should always remain adults. That's where things are going wrong. Screw the friendship relationship with the kids. Stop letting the kids see and know so much about your lives. That's when parents start to lose respect from the children. And he says, stay in a child's place is one of the most important sayings that a parent can use.
Okay.
I was just gonna respond to that because I think a big part of it too is exposure. So our kids are exposed to way more than we were exposed to at their age. Like we barely had access to Google. So I mean, now literally they have the world in the palm of their hands via tablet, iPad, phone, whatever. My 6-year-old is asking for an iPhone 13. Like, who do you have to talk to? For what? So I think exposure is a big part of it, and letting your kids see everything you got going on, or being in tune with what's going on in the household, like as far as even just whatever I'm going through as an adult that are grown up issues is not my son's concern. Your job is to be a child. And I think that a lot of times parents try to put that responsibility on their kids, trying to be inclusive. And that's what Tasha was saying earlier as far as balance. It's levels to it. So it's granted you do want an open line of communication with your kid, but that's just more so I know what's going on with you. It's not really
for you to be all in my business and to know what I got going on or what I'm dealing with. It's just more so that I'm in tune with what you and what you're doing, what you focused on or scared of or whatever it could be. But it's not for the other on the other end. So
Right.
I think that exposure plays a big part too. So the video
Absolutely.
games and everything.
Absolutely.
Parents just let their kids do whatever they want to do and then deal with it on the back end. But the
Right.
back end turns into 6-year-olds bringing guns to school and
Mhm.
just all type of craziness. So that
Mhm.
balance is super, super, super important.
And it's
Mhm.
what Robert mentioned about being friends with your kids. That was one of the things that I had with my kids. It was like, you're just a parent with rules, and you've never was friends. You know what I mean? And it's kind of hard to be, friends and them respect you, as a parent. Go ahead, Natasha. I know you got something to
You're
say.
not a friend, you're a mother.
Right, because I'm not a friend. I'm your mother, and I can't be your friend and mother too. You know what I mean? So that was hard for me. Go ahead, Natasha.
Yeah, but and I get that, and you definitely. I think what the statement should be, you should be a parent first. I think especially like, your job as a parent, like they're, tiny humans, they have emotions and things going on just like parents do, but they don't know how to manage that. They're growing up in life. They need you to navigate that and figure out the way that they're supposed to be. They learn about respect from you. They learn about all these different things from you. Um, so I say parent first, but to say that being a friend should be nowhere in the equation, I think that's what we run into. You think that, and then you have those situations where you have your children who do not feel comfortable coming to you, talking to you about anything, because they look at it like, if I just got to look at them as a parent and they're not actually, I can't look at them as a friend. Because when I think about my friend, if I'm looking at you just as a friend, then yeah, you have no sort of authority or anything like that. And I could just say and do and whatever. But I think one part of being or having a friend is like somebody that you consider to be a safe space, somebody you love, somebody you care about, somebody that can talk to you, somebody that you feel like, is somebody you can confide in. And I think to a degree, you do want your kids to feel like they can come to you, because even if it's going to end up being, they're going to have to deal with a consequence, as a result of it, at the end of the day, they know at the end of the day, my mom, my father, they have my back. So I don't want to feel like I can't come and tell them anything, because then it's so many things that go on, like we mentioned earlier. Like we think just because they're kids that they don't have things that they go through. And because right now, there's so much going on in the schools, it's so much is happening out there. You want your kids to feel like they have a safe space to come to their parents and talk to them about what's going on. I mean, think about the kids that you've been seeing, like who, as a result of getting bullied in school or whatever, they I remember seeing, this was a few years back, the girl, 9 years old, she was getting bullied at school. She didn't say anything to her parents. She ended up coming home and committing suicide. Like I just feel like there is a way, and I always go back to the balance word. There's a way that you can still be a parent first and learn how to be, you still have that opening where I'm still consider you a friend. Don't ever feel like you can't come to mommy and talk to mommy about something, because I want to know what's going on with you. And a lot of times they will hold back if they feel like with a parent, all it is punishments and, discipline when it comes to this person. That's all I got to expect from this person. Like, no, I can expect a little more. I can feel like my parent is more than just my parent. And I think the roles start to shift. Like as they get older, you give a little bit more leeway. Like obviously if the kid is 4 or 5 years old, your parent role gonna take up that pie chart more than the friend role. But as they start to get older and they become teenagers, and then now they're preparing to go out into the world, and that's when you can start, loosening up the reins a bit, and you can start giving more of the friendship, because at some point you're raising them to get to the point where they can be adults and they can start making their own decisions. But if you don't give them any room, you don't give them any space, then how are you expecting them to just go out and just be able to do it? So I think that's just all a part of the parenting. You can be a parent first and still have a piece of you that is a friend. Like you consider like, hey, come to me. So, but that's just how I see it. So I don't think you don't have to not be one at all.
Tasha just got off the phone with your sister. She said she's bringing a baby down for 2 months.
Tell her to bring the daycare money. Tell her to send the daycare money. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Any any comments from the audience?
Yeah, we still got a lot from earlier.
Go ahead.
Yeah. Hold on. Charles Johnson. So this was right after the comment from Robert Beasley. He said, "Stop trying to be your kid's friend." Alyssa said, "Let me see. I think there must be a boundary within allowing children to have such freedom. Set the standard for them to follow." Cleta said, "I think you have to have balance." Tinita said the B word was fighting words, but now it's accepted. I'm guessing that was from something that was said earlier.
Right.
Detta said, I think we should stop trying to be the kids' friend and be their parents.
I agree with that.
100%.
Having an open line of communication is vital. Laquita said, having an open line of communication is vital, but that doesn't mean it's a ticket to be disrespectful. Alyssa said, sometimes the parents haven't dealt with their own trauma and now it has carried on into their own parenting. Yeah, that's something that's not talked about enough. I think she's trying to say discipline should have never been taken away from the school or the parent. The government has too much control and therefore the kids feel like they don't have to listen to the parents.
Teachers.
Right, and that's a big problem.
Ms. Gina says social media. I think we're talking about the kids and what they're involved in.
Yes.
Yes. Lisa said, yes, order has changed and they didn't have the parental guide either. Alyssa said, I feel like kids are having kids and required to be parents and care for a child. That just doesn't work.
Yeah, I think we have a lot of young kids raising kids. So that's why you got everybody out running out shooting, and you got the stealing all these cars, the what boys they call the kid boys. It's just so much going on,
Paula says social media and video games has taken the place of family dinners and family gatherings. It used to be a time when you didn't have a choice. You had to attend family events. You didn't have options.
Yes.
That's true. And I think too, when I think we need to set like time. Okay, you only got an hour to get to, get on your iPad and then do something else that ain't tapping into the outside world where you tapping into the house.
Yes.
Ms. Gina said you have to be a parent and a friend to your kids.
And let's also say that not all children are bad.
Right. Laquita said, I'm not your friend, I'm your parent. We can have mutual respect and understanding, but I'm not your friend.
Right, because I always told her If God had wanted me to be your friend, he would have put me here at the same time he put you here. But unfortunately, he put me here as your mother.
And then people start seeing the results of that when sometimes when kids start to get older. I think it's about balance. Nobody wants to acknowledge that, but it is. And then to Alyssa's point, like you bring in your own, people don't realize parents deal with their own stuff. Like before they became a parent, I mean, at the end of the day, they're their own human, they're a woman, they're a man, whatever. Think about the stuff we deal with on a day-to-day without having kids. And then you add kids to the mix, and that just kind of stirs the pot. And so you're juggling a lot of things, like what you got going on with you, what's going on with the kids, what's going on with the job, what's going on with your man. I mean, it's just a whole lot of things. And so that's why I speak so much about having balance, because if you don't, then you end up putting more energy in places that you shouldn't. And then also you don't have time to really deal with what's going on with you. Because at the end of the day, you're still an individual, you go through stuff. So you don't think that sometimes that could possibly be transferring to the kid? So.
And also, too, you have to remember that when we have kids, they don't come with a manual, first of all.
A parent's manual.
Exactly. And then second of all, maybe that first child you have, you practicing. And then you had a second child, you still maybe somewhat practicing, but you know a little better now. And then maybe that third child or that fourth child, you get better as it goes on. And then you also have to remember that you are going to become a parent one day too. And so you don't want to tell your parents that they did this and they did that and point the finger, because the same thing will happen to you too.
And the thing of it is that, right, and I think you don't really understand. You could, you can go to school, get all kind of degrees and all that, whatever, but until you become a parent and you get that parent past the teenager stage, then you could really, really, really open your mouth and say this, because you have no idea on what type of child you're going to raise. Every kid is different. Exactly. You may raise Chucky, you may raise Freddy Krueger, you may, you have, and then think of, and they each have so many different personalities that you have to be a parent to meet all these different personalities. Exactly. Especially if you have a lot of kids,
Yes.
Everybody's different, and as a parent, you have to be this way you got to be type A with this one, type B with this one, type C with this one, type D with this one, So it's kind of, and it goes back to, again, it's hard to be, that friend. But one thing I can say, if I really wasn't that friend or whatever, but there was any bullying, bet you they would come home telling me. They won't tell me about the bullying part, you know what I mean? And I think kids kind of tell you what they want you to know too as well, you know what I mean? But I think bullying definitely would have been a thing so I don't think my kids could just say that we can never come and tell you anything, because I know bullying, they knew they could come and tell me about bullying, because I was still gonna be up at the school. But go ahead.
Yeah. So Magina said, I'm a parent first, but my kids know I'm a friend and going to keep it real no matter what. Magina, she also said, I've been there. My mom wasn't my friend. I want my kids to be able to tell me anything instead of hearing it from the streets.
And Gina, if you could elaborate on how do you be a friend to your kids? You could elaborate on that, because maybe friend, the word friend is thrown too general. Like, how do you be a friend to them?
And I think it's important to note that, just like there are no perfect individuals, there are no perfect parents, there are no perfect kids. I mean, that's just kind of, I guess we have to say that, but I kind of feel like that kind of goes. So I think that us having this conversation just opens up the door to just some understanding at the end of the day, if nothing else, on both sides of wherever you are at in your life. And people who speak on different things, like, what I would have wanted, what I would have wanted to be told when I was a kid, or what I felt like I missed, or, would have wanted to see more of. I think everybody who ends up, becoming parents, they have things that they take from their parents that they say, I liked, I saw how that was done. I liked it. I'm going to implement it in my kid's life. And then there are also some things that they won't take. And that's just a part of, the individual and deciding, hey, what's best for, their kids and their upbringing at the end of the day. It's not necessarily a a dig, a shot, or somebody, you know, or y'all were just, you know, bad, or it's just like, okay, well, again, we talked about in the previous session, when you know better, you do better. We do know that there were some holes, there were some areas that we can improve. So how can we do better moving forward? So,
but I think everybody they can improve in anything. I think that's just life.
so yeah, so that's the whole point of saying that nobody's perfect. Not one individual is perfect in this world. So there's always room for improvement in anything that we're doing in any role that we have. So Robert said, I think Quita said it, the friendship should be one-sided. Tell me about you, but don't ask about me. Yeah. I think that's to a degree. Yeah. I mean, because I think that one, if it's a kid, you don't want to be putting all your adult problems on a child. Like, I mean, because at the end of the day, again, we talked about we're supposed to be guiding them into how they're, you know, how to manage this and how to manage that. How are you going to do that if you're dumping all of your adult problems that they're not ready for onto them? So, absolutely. Amy Johnson said, I think we waited till our mid-20s to 30s before we actually communicated with our parents in a friend dynamic. We are trying to find that same dynamic earlier.
So for me, I think we might need to come up with another word instead of friend.
Right. That's what I said. Yeah.
As a parent, I'm kind of going through that. Me and my wife is kind of going through that right now with our 14-year-old and our 9-year-old. Where with our 14-year-old, my son was kind of, you know, whatever we say, you need to do it, and he was like a kid in the army marching. Where my daughter she's different. She kind of gonna do whatever she want to do, and she gonna say how she feel. But we're now making it where it's a platform where she can come home from school and she can communicate and say how she feel, and it's an open door for that. I don't think that is a friendship, because if that's a friendship, that friendship is one way. Because if it's a friendship, if I go talk to my friend, I can tell my friend about my daily things I go through. I can't talk to my kid about the daily things I go through. My kid wouldn't understand that.
You hit it.
I'm gonna have to say the friend word is maybe a little bit off. Now, as when you get older, I think that you can build that relationship with your child, or, you know, like with my son being 14 right now, we can start. I'm still not going to use the friend word. I'm just going to say we can have a bigger communication base, because he's old enough to understand a little bit more, but I still can't go to my son and tell him about the bills that I got to pay and my account being negative, because he won't understand none of those things. So once again, I feel like that friendship word is not the right word, because friendship goes both ways. None of us is not going to have a friendship with just it being one-sided. Friendship goes both ways. So with your kid, that's pretty much not a friendship. Once again, you're a parent, and you got to learn how to manipulate things and use things and go different ways with it with your kid, because you want to be able to get that communication from your kid. So I think that you hold some type of platform for your kid to be able to come home from school, be able to come home from wherever they're at, to tell you what's going on, so you keep the communication base
right
online. The friendship word, I think we're throwing that around a little bit too,
right.
Using a little too wrong.
And the award goes to Lavelle Borum, because you hit it right on the nail.
But once again, I'm still riding with my cousin Natasha on. It's a balance.
Right.
I'm still gonna say, once again, that's the key word that she continue to use, is a balance. And I think it is a balance with all these things, because you got to know how to balance these things with kids nowadays. You can't just go one-sided the way things were when we were coming up. It was kind of like, you know, you can just go straight, like do this, do. Nowadays, with everything that's going on in the world, the technology, the social media, it's hard to really be like that. I mean, Not to say I'm not like that with my kids, because I am. My wife is a little bit different, but for me, I'm still cracking the whip.
Okay, so
Was that you done with the comments? Oh, wait a minute, go ahead. I can't hear you. I can't hear you.
Oh no, yeah, we got some more comments, but I was gonna say real quick, I think friend does sound like, okay, that means mutual, but in actuality, if we're talking about what actually the definition of a friend is, it basically just means a person whom one knows and with one who has a bond of mutual affection. So that's all it is. It's like you have a strong liking and the trust for the other person. So I think I would think that, you would want that. But again, it would be one-sided, as we mentioned before, because your kids are not prepared to deal with grown people's problems. So you're not going to be sitting there telling them about, or you shouldn't be, about all your struggles and everything you got going on, dumping on them. They're kids. So Delisa says, so is that being a parent, being a confidant and a friend can ask you about your day too? So is that being a parent, being a confidant and a friend can ask you about your day too? Those without kids want to know.
But they'll take it.
What's the question again? Can you please?
So is that being a parent, being a confidant and a friend can ask you about your day too? Those without kids want to know.
So I mean, that's still just communication. Your kid asks you about your day and elaborating on different things that might be going on. That's still just a communication base. I still don't think that word of, once again, friend is the word. I mean, I just feel like for me, a friend is somebody you can go to, and you might ask your friend, look, you got $500 that I can hold? I'm behind on my rent. You can't ask your kid that. So I just feel like, once again, friend is just not the right word.
Robert Beasley said you had kids raising kids back in the day as well. My grandmother was 14 when she had her first. But the difference is the discipline styles. My parents and grandparents put the fear of God in us.
A lot of us grew up going to church, and as they say, they drug you to church, okay, whether you wanted to go or not. And some of it, at some times, did make a difference in your life as an adult, okay? So, once again, that's not happening, as we know, because um, a lot of generation do not believe in, or don't like to go to church because of some of the things that they hear and they see. So I think that's a good way to reach out and get a child somewhat grounded in the word, the gospel, good news.
Absolutely.
True. So true.
Delisa said, my mom always tells me the things you don't like, don't put in your parenting, but the things you like, you add that.
And I think we all can look back and say, well, I'm not gonna. We could take something that we didn't like from our parenting, from being parenting, and we could take some things that we do like from being parenting.
Robert Beasley said, just call me Joe Jackson.
There you go.
Yeah, that's the way.
Any more comments?
I'm still going through them.
Okay.
Lisa said, my mom was not my friend, but I was always told I can tell my mom anything, and that was true. But now I can see that we got to the friend place now because I'm an adult.
Right. And I think, right.
I agree with balance. I allowed my kids to have a voice because I just wanted to be in the know what was going on. I wouldn't react to what they told me. However, I knew where I needed to focus and put emphasis on.
I think that's important.
Laquita said, babies raising babies, broken homes, mass incarceration, and parentless kids are all results of that era and have a major effect on the kids and the parents that have raised them. And Gina said, we talk about everything, no holds barred. There is no manual for parents. With my son, I was a parent and he tells my mom everything. With my daughter, I took a different approach. We literally talk about everything.
And use that word everything. They don't, I mean, you know, we liberally, because they don't, they just, you know, I mean, we like to think that they tell us everything, but that's not always true.
You said, my daughter asked me questions she hears at school and I answered them.
That's great.
So she was asked, so Nene said, so is there a term no wrong or right? So I think she was talking about like what sounds better than a friend, I guess, or sounds more fitting than a friend.
Right.
Oh, that was another. Nene said, going to church as a kid shaped my adult life a lot.
Amen.
And yeah, so that's it for comments.
Okay. Good. Okay. All right. So I guess we want to go ahead and say what you're gonna say.
Are we reading the bonus question?
Mm-hmm. Just so we just want to finish with the bonus question. The bonus question was just to see what you get your opinion on the bonus question. Then we'll end. So the bonus questions was majority of us were taught to pray and pray about everything we go through. What opinion or how do you feel about suggesting prayer only with someone that's dealing with mental health?
Well, I was raised in the church, and I was taught you have to learn to pray. But as I got older, I realized that prayer works. And it certainly helped me go through when I was going through anxiety. So I would definitely recommend prayer to someone that's dealing with mental health or anything else for that matter.
And then what I would say to that question is, yeah, prayer helps and prayer is wonderful, but just like how you go to the doctor and get your, your physical, he puts you on blood pressure pills and things like that. God made it possible where man could invent these things to help take care of the mind, spirit, and body. Because even with your mental, you know what I mean. So I think prayer goes along with like getting help, getting medication and things like that. So I just wouldn't just say prayer alone, even though I do know prayer works, but you have to add some other things to prayer as well. Again, like I say, if you got blood pressure issues. Anybody just want to say anything to that?
Yeah, I was gonna say more of what you said, just about it can go hand in hand. And then when you think about it, it's like, and they say faith without works is dead. I think it's the same thing. Like your work is the work that you're doing. So it's not that you're going through something and you just sit on your thumbs and hands and just, wait until, like do something in the meantime, like do something, after you've done all you can, then you stand, so I've done what I can do. So then, you wait for, then you can wait for something to happen. But I think that, if you, to your point, if you were diagnosed with cancer and, you got your diagnosis, you just went home and didn't do nothing about it and, just prayed, and you didn't go do, any of the treatments or anything, a lot of times, you kind of seal in, seal in your face. So the same way you would want to go and seek treatment for things that you're going through physically, it's the same way with you mentally. And going to therapy doesn't mean that you have something wrong with you, so you just got to go and talk to somebody. You can look at therapy as maintenance, like it's a check-in. Like, let me check up on myself, just like you do with your annual checkups and stuff like that. So, yeah.
What's the comment? I can't see the comment.
Therapy and counseling is like an oil change. It's just a checkup. Always check in with yourself, just like you do your kids, partners, parents. That's what Nene Johnson said.
Anybody else want to add to it?
I'll just say that I think that prayer is important. Obviously, that's definitely important. But I think that sometimes it also may put you in a frame of mind to where you can then have a result. So it may just be like, okay, well, Lord, let me get my mental together and let me get my thoughts in order, or arrange things so that it all makes sense, so that now I have the clearness, or clarity is the word I'm looking for. Now I have the clarity to then find the result or response to whatever it is that you're dealing with. So it's again, like she said, prayer without works is dead. So sometimes the prayer is just to clear your mind, give you mental clarity, so that now I'm at a space where I can either restart, recharge, and then now I can go at it in a different way.
Mm-hmm. What's the other comment?
Paula says prayer works, but I also feel like you should seek medical attention if you need it.
Absolutely. That's true. Absolutely. All right, so I guess we'll wrap up this discussion. So she want to give the next meeting, and then we'll take positive, right?
Okay, so the next session we're gonna have is on March the 8th, 2023. And we talked so much about kids today, that this is gonna actually be really good for next week. Because there are some kids that are dealing with anxiety, depression, bullying, like we all said, ADHD. So there's going to be a lot of good information for next week that I'm going to be talking about. Me and my sister want children with these different things. So let parents with children know. Let children know to come on, so they can see this next live show, because it's going to be really good for information that they're going to need to know about.
Okay, so we're gonna end on positive. So, Chuck, you want to go ahead first?
Sure. Heavenly Father, we come to you thanking you for this opportunity to come together and to hear the words from others about how life is and how life can be. Guide us on this journey, Father God, and touch our children, our family, and our friends, our neighbors throughout this world. Bless us to be a blessing and heal us and forgive us of our sins. Guide us and protect us on this journey. We thank you for all that you have done and all that you will do. So once again, continue to make Talitha and Reveal Facebook famous, Father God. So once again, bring forth more people to their classes and guide them and protect them and keep them in your tender love and mercy and grace. All of these things I ask in the mighty name of Jesus. Amen, amen, and amen.
Amen, amen. Quita, amen, receive.
Just something positive. I would just say do the best you can with what you have. So we only have to work with what God gave us, and the more that you work at it, the harder that the more effort you put into it, the better that you'll get at it. So none of us have a guide to life, parenting, friendships, none of it. But we just do the best we can with what we have.
Lavelle.
Say something positive and you will see something positive. which means speak life into your situation or whatever you're going through. So say something positive and see something positive.
Natasha?
Just take everything a day at a time. We all got our stuff we going through and things that we're trying to deal with. So everything is just one foot in front of the other. You'll get through.
So I guess me and my son, we think alike because I pretty much had what he just said. This is for people that's, having negative thoughts. So once you replace negative thoughts with positive thoughts, you'll start having positive results.
It was good how y'all came with the same thing, huh? And then what I'll just say is, everyone goes through something. There's no perfect situation. There's no perfect storm. And just, again, be positive. Don't think it's just you. Pray about things, and see your way out of situations, and just know that, I always go through life when you're going through a trial and tribulation at that present point. Just know that it's just at that present point, that it's not going to be the rest of your life. So see yourself going through that point to your goal, and not just your situation that you're going through. So again, I want to thank all of our panel members, Charles, Lavelle, Tasha, and Quita. We thank you guys again, from ending this part 2 of our live, with our Black history. And we want to thank our viewers for coming on and sharing your comments and opinion. And we'll see you back next week. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.